Hey everyone, welcome to the Alex Waters Show. On today's episode, I chat with Matthew Landers, who is the People's Florist and just an amazing human being, a really cool guy. We got to chat deep about his business, and he's an award-winning florist. Please look him up on Instagram. He's just a crack up on there. This kind of conversation went somewhere I didn't expect it to go. We ended up talking a lot about Matthew growing up being gay and, the gay community and how that kind of all interacts with society, different things. And yeah, it went somewhere really cool. So let's dive into it. I'll see you on the other side. Welcome. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you for having me here.
Yeah. We've got the birthday candle.
Yep.
And
we're not eating cake, which is disappointing. We're smelling cake. It's like that moment of I can smell it, but I'd like to taste it.
Yeah. Have you apparently? So I posted this the other day, and a friend said that they're actually different flavors as well, like fairy floss and a few others.
Yeah, right.
Which is believable.
Which is good if you're on a diet. It's like, I feel like a bit of cake. Let's just light a candle and sniff it rather than having a piece of cake. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if it satisfies you the same, but whatever works. And we've got our ceremonial cacao here, thanks to my good friends.
I've never had a ceremonial cacao before.
Yeah.
It's very ceremonious. Thank you for introducing me to this.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll have to get you onto it. It's delicious.
Yeah.
The People's Florist.
The People's Florist, the People's Snack Fluencer.
Yeah.
Now the People's Cacao Sampler.
Exactly.
I'm impressed.
Yeah. So, we were talking just before we got started, and I asked you, obviously, like, have you been on a few podcasts? And you sort of said yes. Mm-hmm. It's very businessy, which we can understand. People are, they're drawn to, like, people's stories and people's, particularly success stories, right?
Mm-hmm, of course.
Because everyone thinks money's the answer.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, which is crazy. Or not even money, maybe, I think, but, like,
I think it's that keyword success.
Success.
Do you know what I mean? I feel like some people say, they hear the word success, and no matter whether it's money or not, they go, oh, well, I'm successful, so I've made it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's that kind of feeling. And it's like, but what defines success?
Yeah. What does that even mean?
Exactly.
Yeah. What does it mean to you?
I think success to me truly would be more time to myself. So if that looks to me like I've got a successful business or whatever it may be that then allows me to have more time with my husband, my family, whatever that may be, then that looks like, I think, success to me, because it's like I've now made myself available more for my own life.
Yeah. So you see work and business as a vehicle to access that?
Yeah, I think so, because I look at people, especially clients of mine that have got wealth, like actual more money than I'll ever know of.
Like millions and millions.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I see what they've got, and I'm like, okay, what does that actually get you? And it's time, because having that money wealth gives you assistance. You don't have to clean your own home. Someone's organizing your finances, all of these things. So you're basically just swanning around living your own life. And it's like, okay, I get it. Like I understand what that brings you. So I think for me, success just simply looks like being able to have more free time and, be able to actually spend more time doing what I really love doing for myself, not just for the business. Because when you're doing it for your business, you're often doing it for your employees and your clients, and you're working hard also for them as well as yourself.
So, but you obviously work really hard. And so is there a point that you'll do you feel like you have as much time as you want now for your personal life?
No, not at all. No, I wish I had more time.
So you don't feel successful right now?
No, I wouldn't. No, by definition of what I just said, absolutely. No,
Wow.
I would definitely. And I think that's probably the driving force for me as an ongoing of being like, it's not good enough, like in terms of, this is why I have to work hard. This is why I continue on. This is why I carry on doing what I'm doing. But my stepfather dropped dead six weeks ago, literally. So I think that's also put in perspective to me that it's like, well, we could go at any time, and unannounced, with no notice. So it's like, it's definitely allowed me to think of, those success versus priorities and how I can perhaps redistribute my time so that I do also have more time for myself, because I love like you know, I love working. I love what I do. So it's like, it's not a burden to be at work. But I think sometimes you can just get so caught up in it that it's like, oh, I actually need to have a day off for myself.
Yeah. You get caught in the trap.
Yep.
Yeah.
It becomes a little mouse wheel and you just keep carrying on. And then I think, especially when you work for yourself, you know, it's staying an extra hour or 2 hours, which ends up being 4 or 5 hours, you know, and then working another day. And then you realize you've been for 3 weeks and you haven't had a day off and you forget, you don't even know. You're like, oh, yeah, I actually do need to have a day off just to rest.
That hasn't happened to me for a long time. Because I'm curious to know what you think about this for yourself. But I realized, like when I was hard out real estate agent, like, you know, bringing in the bacon, I was working, you know, 7 days a week, all that sort of thing. One year I got shingles because I worked like 53 days in a row straight. Something crazy like that. And
Shingles is not nice.
No, and I was like laid out and, you know, in bed, that sort of thing. So recovered from that fine, but I just had a big realization that I was constantly saying to myself, when I get here, then I will have more time. Once I have $1 million in the bank, then I'll spend more time with my family or invest in my relationships with my friends.
Yeah.
And, you know, I just had this realization of like, well, I'm never actually going to get there. If I can't make it happen now, it's not going to happen then.
Totally.
And there's more than one way to skin a cat, you know, as the saying goes. How do you feel about that, especially given, you know,
it
your
makes complete
stepfather?
sense. And I'm the same. I don't know about you when you're in business, but I am a 1,000,000% control freak. So I really struggle to relinquish control, especially when it's literally my name on the brand.
Yeah.
You know, I really struggle to give that control to other people. And sometimes I think I set the expectations too high, both on myself and on them, even when I'm recruiting, that it's just like, no, you're not good enough for this business, you know, and I move on to someone else and it's like, no, you're not good enough for this business. And it's like, oh, perhaps I should have had the approach of let's make them good enough. Do you know what I mean? So I feel like I've constantly got the bar so high that I'm actually just continually doing the work myself, being like, oh, just let me do it. And it's like, no, give someone the opportunity to do it and to, you know, do it well or not, and, you know, empower them to improve and that sort of thing. I'm very much working on, you know, in terms of my own, I guess, mental health too, you know, because you take on so much.
Yeah.
And then you get to a stage where like, I'll get home, you know, at night sometimes and I'll just be sitting on the couch in dead silence with like this Rolodex of things buzzing around in my head, you know, trying to compartmentalize everything that's happened and everything I have to do. And, you know, yeah, it's full on.
Yeah. Yeah, I can relate to that. Like I wouldn't say now because I reached breaking point. Like I got to a point where I was like, I'm done. Like I hate what I'm doing. I don't even like who I am. And I have to let go of control in order to be happy.
Yeah.
That was it for me. So
I think that's something I've become more conscious of, is trying to make better choices so that I'm not forced into that position.
Yeah.
You know, like if that makes sense, like becoming ill or, you know, reaching that breaking point, like you said, and then going, oh, well, I now have no choice but to give up that control. So yeah, that's my focus very much for the rest of this year, is to get the right people in place, even if they're not exactly what I'm looking for. It's like mentor them to get to where you want them, so that you don't reach that breaking point. Because I had adrenal fatigue last year, so I was literally flat on my back for 4 weeks, and that was just simply from overworking. So I know
this will help you with that, this cacao.
Well,
it's got it's also got ashwagandha powder in, which is an Indian root, and
so it's like $74 a cup.
Yeah,
is what it is.
Probably. I don't know. Yeah, basically.
Yeah,
yeah, pretty much.
All the ingredients, just $150.
Yeah, it's supercharged. That's why they don't serve it anywhere else. But you know, you can get it for free at Alex's house. So yeah, I know what that feels like for sure. Well, it's interesting about that though, because you talked about having you know, as it's like it's your name on the door. Do you think that maybe it's a fine line, right? Because I think you know what I'm about to say. It's a fine line because like your name on the door, your finesse and discipline and the way that you have pictured things and wanted things and how obsessed you've been with that is the reason you are where you are.
Yep.
And your brand is where it is. But then there's also a level of, I can't scale it unless I allow that to kind of morph a little bit with other people's ideas and thoughts, and maybe the way they do that isn't exactly how I did it, but actually the customer's really delighted with that, and the brand is still represented well.
Totally.
It's like, how do you like balance that?
It's a hard thing, and I often go backwards and forwards in my head of like, did I make the right choice to name brand, a business, especially when thinking of, things like exit strategy and stuff like that. It's like, there's a lot of moving parts in that, but something that I really have done within the last 6 months is really included my entire team in like the creative process. So when I'm creating new ranges, like spring, we're about to shoot next week, I've included my team on the creative process rather than before I would have just done it myself and been like, this is what we're doing, so that it had that impact of me and my touch and everything like that. So just trying to, it's not for a sense of making them feel more included in the discussion. It's actually just to, because we already have a great team synergy. It's about making them feel comfortable and confident in recreating and also seeing the creative from the beginning from me of like how we got to the end product, so that then when they're working with clients, they can understand the creative process and go, this is why we're doing it this way at the moment, or this is how we got to having these designs available for sale, or
You've got I just had a thought, like you've got guys like Joe Bailey who Joe Bailey Hair, in Sydney, a big name, and he's obviously been able to scale his business and grow it, and it's almost like maybe because he has head stylists and things like that who kind of almost become a celebrity in themselves in the brand, right? It's like
it's like being a creative director of a fashion house.
Exactly.
And
so you need to appoint a creative director.
Totally. Yeah, and at some point,
Matthew Landers,
totally,
someone really sexy and has their celebrity vibe.
100%. And in time, that's basically my exit strategy, because then I just move on to just being the founder. And or the CEO or whatever that looks like, and then you have a creative director in charge of that established brand. So that's definitely part of my long-term exit, kind of strategy and backing off from the business. But I think the problem is I just love it too much. I just love working too much. I love my clients and I love what I do. So I think that's also responsible for me constantly being in this state of broken, because I'm working so much just because I love it. So it's so hard to, when you are in that cycle, to try and go, hang on, how do I break myself from that cycle of loving something so much to just going, hang on, you need to just stop for a minute and take some time for yourself and just have trust and faith that the people that you've appointed are going to do a really great job.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's awesome. Why do you think people follow you? Because you got a pretty big following on Instagram. I know why I follow you, because I think you're hilarious. Just like,
I think the thing...
I'm laying in bed at like 10 p.m. at night watching your stories.
I see the responses. I think the thing for me is, so in short, when Instagram didn't have stories, when it was, very much just a post platform, I see how now, back looking on it, how the business looked quite intimidating. It was very much like Matthew Landers, international award-winning florist, all of these things. Like I had won Australian Florist of the Year for the first time when I was 17, so I look at, like,
Jesus.
Going from that, young achiever, tall poppy syndrome, all of that sort of stuff that I've kind of evolved through and had to deal with, I did look at it and go, wow, from the outside, this actually looks really wanky. Like it kind of does actually look like, this is maybe outside of what I can afford or achieve or whatever that may be. And I feel like Insta Stories was the blessing that I needed, because it broke down those walls and people saw that I was just normal. Do you know what I mean? I was just a normal person, wasn't scared of just saying something how it is, and don't get me wrong, like I have said things on Instagram and put things on Instagram before that has caused issue.
Yeah, like before.
What? Someone said, back in May 2018, someone sent me a random photo of a florist shop, and it was pretty ordinary, like the photo and what I was looking at. And I made the fatal mistake, without thinking about how it could return back to me, of screenshotting the photo, putting it on Instagram as a story and putting putrid. I can't believe shops like this still exist.
Yep.
And I will never, ever, ever forget the two things that happened from that was the whirlwind of hate, like feeling that and just being like, what have I done? Like without thinking, you make such a flippant or, candid comment about something and then seeing it also from the other person's perspective. And the worst part about it was the photo had been taken from a shop that was in Perth. Which I'd never seen the shop. I didn't know it, and I thought, this has obviously come back, and then I had to really go away and be like, why did you post it? What was inside you that, made you post it, and why, how would you feel if, that it was returned in kind, about my store or something like that? I would have taken it equally as personally.
Yeah.
So I had to then go, right, you obviously learn from that experience, and my apology to not only the person that affected, but to everyone was very genuine because I completely saw how it was and obviously didn't in the moment that I clicked post. I just didn't think, and I can't even think now, looking back on it, how I came to think that was acceptable, as a role model as such for our industry as well. But yes, coming back from it, I think the one thing that saved me from that as well was owning up to it, and really taking responsibility, and not just because I know other people would have probably just shut down the Instagram, shut down Facebook, shut down everything, like disappeared, poof, gone, just to stop the noise. And I thought, no, let the noise carry out, let people say what they want to say, own up to it, apologize, learn from it.
Yeah.
Because I often think that when you make mistakes and poor judgments like that, people can only see your true self from the steps you take following that.
Yeah.
So I had to prove to everybody that I was like, no, I learned from that. I did learn from that. And yeah, it was quite a sobering experience, but it made it better. And it made me realize that, like, I know that plenty of people, follow me just for the laughs. They're not necessarily there for the flowers, which is fine. But it made me think, okay, well, if I'm the actor as such, on Instagram, being an idiot for people, then the people that are watching are actually the director. So if the director says you've gone too far, then you've gone too far. Do you know what I mean? Or if they're pushing you to go harder, it's like, okay, push a little bit harder. So sometimes it's that key case of like, and I often will record something that I'm about to hit post on Instagram, and I'm just like, oh, do I, don't I? And I just show it to one of my staff, and I'm like, is this too much? Is this too far? And yeah, if they go, oh, then we don't post it. It's better choices these days.
Do you want to share some of those?
No.
Yeah.
There's been some questionable ones, but yeah, no, it's I think it's just about connecting with people on a real level and realizing that you're just a normal human and that you're in business for yourself and you love it and you take it seriously and that you stand by your brand promise. It's like, talking the talk and then walking the walk.
I think there is definitely a bit of an expectation from society that like people are perfect in some ways as well, and it is nice to see those situations come about where unfortunately you said something like that, but then everyone's kind of like, oh, okay, he's not perfect, and
100%.
It's all good. It's actually all good that he made a mistake because he's human. That's 100%. What everyone does,
and these are the steps that he took to not just rectify that particular situation, but learn from it. Because I think if you don't learn from those mistakes, then what's the point? It just becomes lip service, saying sorry to somebody. Yeah.
I think I think that's an easy trap to fall into when you're on social media and sharing a lot.
Yep.
Because you kind of, you get into the habit of just like sharing authenticity and thoughts and, just moment by moment, right? And everyone has fucked up thoughts. That's like everyone's been driving along, seen some pedestrians and been like, what would happen if I just ran them over?
Yeah, truly.
Like
totally.
And if you haven't had that thought, you're probably a psychopath.
Yeah.
But
no, I totally agree. And it's like, I think that's been a lot of, for me on Instagram, is saying this sort of shit that people think all the time and then just saying it, and connecting with people on that level going, I can't believe he just said that, and it's like, well, of course I did, because we all think it, But, I when, for instance, the, because, obviously when I was younger, I was working as a drag queen for like 5 nights a week.
Really?
Yeah, working between the Court, Connections, Eurobar, all of those venues that used to exist, right? So I look at, the amount of times, if I think about the amount of times that I stood on a stage as a drag queen and hosted an event or a show or whatever, and I think back to, like, I think, this whole Black Lives Matter movement that's come about in 2020 really made me look back and think hard about things that I've said in the past. And I thought, God, I've said some things that have been really horrible, publicly.
Yeah.
And it just, so then of course it provokes the thought of like, what made you think that was okay to say? You know? So it's been actually, for me, I don't know about you, but it's been actually a really good year for me, because I feel like there's been a lot of things pop up for me this year, pandemic included, that's really put some things into perspective and gone, shit, how can I be better? Like how can I do better and play my small part to, not just be better, but feel better, about things that I'm saying and doing and posting and affecting and helping and everything.
Yeah. I feel like that's a part of growing up as well. Like we're all a bit stupid in our 20s.
Yeah. And, I feel like 30 is that crossing point.
Yeah, exactly.
You're a grown up.
It's kind of like you're a real adult.
Yeah.
I interviewed Tamara Cook. I don't know if you know Tamara. A couple of weeks ago, the episode's going to be released soon. And we talked about, the whole Black Lives Matter theme and stuff that's happened in the world, because she posted about it on LinkedIn and had an article in the West. Obviously, she's like half Kenyan, but has a white Australian mother and white family in Australia. So she grew up being dark skinned in a white family.
Yeah.
And just like her sharing her experience, my friends who are colored sharing their experience, was a real wake up call for me as well. Of like, fuck, I've just been so oblivious to that. But, I think a lot of it is just conditioning and how we've grown up and what we've heard other people say. We're not even repeating our own authentic thoughts. It's just like what we heard someone else make a joke about when we were a kid, and then suddenly it becomes acceptable. So it's like, I think really becoming an adult is like the process of taking ownership of yourself and everything you do.
And committing to your own thoughts as well. Yeah, I think back to things I used to say, and it was like repeating my grandmother, who was horrifically racist, but again, that was bred into her, so it's like, I think about these things and it's like, I feel like social media can be a good thing as well for highlighting how this, and I've been in situations of that sort of hate, growing up being gay, and I was a fat child, and all these things, like, so I've been on the receiving end of the same sorts of things that coloured people have gone through.
Sure.
And just in a different context, right? Yeah. But it's like you don't, even having been through that, you don't always think about other people and how it's reflected on them. And, another comment made to someone else is the exact same feeling or hurt that you have felt the same. And it's so it's been a good year, I think, for me, like growing up, if you will, like looking at those sorts of things and going, how can I do better?
We're all just humans who want to be loved.
Like,
and
love.
That's the answer.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
Like, we all just need to be more compassionate, more loving, and like the world will be a better place. And 100%. It's like the people who are speaking out from a place of hate and that sort of thing. I have I said this on my Instagram a while ago. I was like, I don't actually think hate's a real emotion. Hate is masked, a mask for what's really underneath, which is a cry for love. In almost all cases, that I've analysed and seen, and certainly from my own experience.
It's like bullies, when someone's bullying you, they're insecure about something within themselves, it's
exactly.
Like,
everything's just a projection. What was it like growing up gay, and like what's that like? When did you when did you kind of realize, like, what?
See, I can think back to, like, I can't ever remember not being gay, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
To me, it's literally like,
wow.
From my earliest memories, I was just like, this is how I'm programmed.
Really?
Yes, yeah, very much so.
Wow.
And I never felt, I don't know if it was just my how I was put together sort of thing, but I never also, even growing up in the 80s and 90s, I never felt that need to hide. I was just like, I don't care that you don't accept it. This is how I am. This is who I am, and that's always kind of how it was, for me personally. But, with my friends growing up in similar situations, getting kicked out of home for being gay and all these sorts of things, I'm just like, God, it comes back to the parents and, their kind of what they've grown up with and, things that they've been through. But for me, it was just very much living your truth sort of situation, being like, well, this is how it is. You know, like if you don't want to be part of me, then that's fine. You know, you go somewhere else, go on your own path. But yeah, I never had any need or want either to hide it, because I was just like, well, I'm the unicorn. Do you know what I mean? I was like, well, I'm the unicorn. You know, like you're just, you know, the normal straight boy. You know, like to me, I was just like, well, I'm the one that's different actually. Like you should be wanting to be friends with me. You know, that was kind of where my head was at when I was a kid. So
who instilled that in you? Like your mum, or
do you know my mum is like, she's one of those people that's just like, my mum never wanted to have kids, right? So she wasn't maternal when she was growing up. But then I think after she had me, you know, and then my brother later, who is also gay, she...
Different fathers?
No.
Same father?
Yeah. Two unicorns. One litter.
Wow.
She's lucky. So it's like... and she's only got fur grandchildren, you know, so it's... She kind of, I think, took the, you know, the hand of cards that she was dealt and was like, well, this is it. I can't change it. You know, like I'm not going to be angry that, you know, this is what I've got. Whereas my dad comes from a family where it's like army background and it's all, you know, like it's completely not the right thing, you know, for what he has been brought up with, country, you know, army, all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So mum for me was just like that kind of blessing. Whereas my grandmother, who was my primary caregiver until I was about 15, was one of those women that was, you know, full of racism, full of hate, all of, you know, that typical old school dowager. You know, she kind of she had that Maggie Smith vibe about her where she was like, looked down at everyone, you know, that sort of real Claremont accent, all of that.
Yeah.
But she was in fact the one that encouraged it the most.
Yeah.
Really. Like she would, you know, like I remember sitting on like her dressing room, you know, dressing table when I was like 6 or 7 years old, and I'd have like her clip-on earrings on, and I'd have beads on, and I'd have all this sort of stuff just sitting there, you know, being a glamazon. And she'd come in and she'd look at me and she'd be like, oh, Matthew, she said, just make sure you put it back where it belongs. You know, it was all of that, you know, like she was just, she never ever stopped it or said it was wrong or anything like that. So I feel very lucky that I came from that, because I never felt unsupported through it. Whereas I know so many people, you know, with all sorts of, you know, things that you're born with as such, you know, gender dysphoria, sexuality, you know, all sorts of things, don't have that same experience. So I have a lot of empathy for people that don't come from that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's quite fascinating really, isn't it? When you, kind of sit back and go, well, the human race, you know, as far as, sex is concerned, like male versus female, we're designed biologically as a species to kind of be attracted to the opposite, to procreate and keep making babies to make this survival
Keep
of
the world
us.
going around,
like survival basically.
Yes.
And it's interesting that then you just have these kind of, like, I don't know whether it's literally genetic or however predisposed it is in your body. I'm not aware of the science, but you know, you just have like things that kind of create differently. And I suppose really that's how we evolved. Like that's how we evolved from apes and all sorts of things. Right? We just have differences that come out over time.
Well, the studies like back in the 40s and 50s reckon that there was about an 8% of the world were identified as homosexual. And now in 2020, it's about 12%. Identified. Right. So whether it was just simply a case of, or not necessarily homosexual, but more gender fluid as such, you know,
right.
So obviously including bisexual, you know, gender fluid, you know, non-conforming, non-binary. So I feel like this new generation of kids as well is completely different. You know, you've got these kids that are teenagers that are just like, well, I don't identify as male or female. You know, non-binary, don't identify as one or the other, whatever
what is that? Like that, I personally don't understand that because it's not my experience. Right? I'm like, I can't even fathom how someone can be born and they're like, no, I'm just not. I'm not either. I do have a penis or I do have a vagina, but I'm just not that.
Fascinates me too.
What, do you understand it? Like,
no, I can't say that I do. Some of my closest friends are transsexual. So they've gone from male to female. And I've known them from one to the other, living their truth, so to speak. And I can hand on my heart say from knowing them that 100% when they identified visually as male, there is no way they were a man. No way.
Sure.
The mentality, the thought process, everything about the way they behaved was non-masculine. It was not male. Not at all. No way. So to be, given a body as such as well that you don't mentally feel like belongs to you is a completely different struggle altogether. And I don't know what it is about kids these days feeling like they can just say it. It's great, because you've got these kids that are saying, oh, this is what I am, this is how I feel. So you've got all these kids that are struggling as teenagers that are now going through different transitions and things like that within themselves much earlier because they feel like they can say it. And so I feel like we also, as a race, are kind of like becoming more accepting of not everyone's made male or female or, made to fit a specific mold. Everyone's a little more different. And like when you look, for instance, at like transsexuals, for instance, in different cultures, like in Thailand and parts of Samoa and stuff like that, they are literally viewed as unicorns. Like that. This is a gift. That this sort of behavior, if you will, is actually a gift. This is you really are something special, and they're looked at as like a goddess basically because it's like you're different from everyone else.
Sure. What? Because. Let me start that again. I'm like trying to package all my thoughts at once.
I know that feeling.
How do I put this in a way that like makes sense and doesn't sound...
Makes sense to me first.
Doesn't sound like I'm shitting on anyone as well. I think like growing up as a kid, right? There's so many people, like many people feel like they don't fit in, right?
Absolutely, in one way or another,
Yeah, in one way or another.
You've got pimples, you've got whatever,
exactly. Because we're kind of shoved into this system that tries to sort of conform everyone. Everyone then is programmed to think they have to conform. They don't feel like they fit in. And so we all feel different. We all feel a little isolated at times and that sort of thing. Do you think there's a risk, and even if there is, does it even matter? But do you think there's a risk of like the fact that we are now more open as a society and as a world, that you've got teenagers who feel like they don't fit in and then look for the solution, and the most obvious one might be, oh, I actually should be a girl, or I should be a boy, or whatever else. Do you think that's part of that conversation at all? And like, even if it was, does it even matter? Because it's just another person doing whatever the fuck they want in their life.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I also think about this in different aspects too, because I feel like we as a society are also bred into identify as part of a group.
Yes.
So I feel like sometimes people that are potentially struggling, like, so for instance, like if you're gay, male or female, growing up as a teenager, you're then actively looking for like, oh, what group can I become part of?
Yeah.
Like, can I go to Freedom Center and, then feel like I can go to that safe place and be myself.
And fit in.
That's right. So rather than actually just at a society level, just accepting that everyone's different, it's actually also causing more kind of segregation, if you like, because you're seeking these groups, same with the Black Lives Matter, like you've got people that have come out of the woodwork, like that are now saying something. It's like, baby, you could have said this at any point.
Yeah.
And now it's like, now you're feeling more confident saying it because it's a group, it's a herd, of people saying it. Doesn't make it any less important or, but it just, you have that confidence of like, no, there's more than one person that's going to say this with me, and I feel like those, teenagers, that's kind of what we look for. We're looking for a group. It's like when you go to high school and you've never met anyone, it's just like, cool, I need to find a group. I need to hang out with friends and people. And it's like, what does that look like? Am I looking for people that look like me, or am I, So I feel like that can often create just more and more and more little, because it's gone from like LGBT to LGBTQIBQC minus 4. Do you know what I mean? Like there's so many letters and words and colors, and that now it's just like, oh,
which are all just more labels and more,
do you know?
More...
And that's the thing. I think that's the thing that annoyed me the most, is the labels that we still get put on. I had someone once introduce, a former friend introduce me and be like, oh, this is my gay friend, Matthew. I was like, I can't believe you just said that. I was like, do not introduce me to someone as your gay friend. I'm not your prize.
Yeah.
Like, I am your friend.
Yeah.
This is my friend, Matthew. You know, like, so people are still getting labeled, you know, without, it can be subconscious, I think. But
well, I think in that instance, it was potentially a matter of maybe him feeling more comfortable with that label by, you know, introducing
being like, oh, I'm not gay.
Yeah,
just letting you know this is my gay friend. I'm not gay though.
Exactly, like something like that. Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, it's an interesting conversation. I think my opinion on the whole
so much for a business conversation, by the way.
Oh, I didn't necessarily want to have a business conversation.
This is great.
I didn't want to have a business chat. We all know like business, whatever.
We all know
just
business.
If you want to know about business, just Google business.
Business,
right?
yeah. Business 101, business for dummies. Yeah.
Exactly. I think it's like literally like the human experience is what it is. Just do whatever the fuck you want. But I do kind of feel that these like stories coming out of these really young people in kind of a very vulnerable and impressionable stage of their life, making huge life decisions about, you know, transitioning with hormones and stuff like that. That to me is kind of like, I don't know where I stand on that, because I'm like, wow, I didn't know who I was until I was 27.
Totally.
Maybe even 28, 29, 30. Like, so
but like
that's
from
not
my
to
experience,
say,
for instance, you know, like knowing that I was gay from my earliest memory.
Yeah.
I also at the same point would have known if I was a woman trapped in a man's body.
You wouldn't have.
I would have. Do you know what I mean? Like I would have, 100%.
Yeah.
And my girlfriends that have, you know, transitioned, I look at them and they're just like, oh, I always knew.
Yeah.
You know, they're like, oh no, I always knew. From day dot, first time I remember opening my eyes, I knew that I was trapped in a body, but I couldn't, it was like screaming, but no one's listening, you know? So it's...
Well, I suppose really like me, you know what? I've just caught myself on this, because me questioning this is actually part of the bigger society thing of like, we take people's responsibility away from them, of themselves. Well, you know, I think everyone should just be able to do what they want, and that's their responsibility to deal with that as well. And if a child, you know, 13-year-old teenager, whatever, decides to do that, and then later they decide that wasn't what I wanted to do, then they also have responsibility for that.
For every action, there's a consequence.
Exactly.
Good or bad.
Yeah. Cool. I think I just came up with my opinion on that. Yeah, it's a good chat.
I heard the penny drop then,
Yeah. Which is interesting, because for a while I've been saying to myself, like, you know, the government shouldn't have rules in place that ultimately take people's responsibility away from them. Like we're fucking human beings. And we need to take responsibility and accountability. If I want to wear a seatbelt while I'm driving, or I don't want to wear a seatbelt, and I know the consequences of not wearing a seatbelt are, if I crash, I could have a 70% higher chance of dying. Isn't that the point of being human and like survival of the fittest and, you know, making good decisions and
It's interesting, because for me, it's like, I always think about, you know, situations like that you mentioned. It's like 100% I agree with the freedom, you know, for instance, you know, that you mentioned. I always tend to think backwards and go, okay, so if I don't want to wear a seatbelt, you know, because I'm free and I don't have to, and then I have a crash and I fly out my windscreen, but then I kill someone else in the process. You know, it's just like, you've got to take responsibility for yourself and also know that that's not going to impact other people's life experience too.
Yeah. Yep.
So that's kind of where my head
which
sits at
is
it.
where we have some of these laws in place that start to encroach on that. Although I've never heard of someone's body flying out of a window and killing someone else.
I've just watched a lot of, you know, like Law and Order and Criminal Minds and stuff like that. So I've seen it all. Yeah. But yeah, no,
you know that's not real, right?
Yeah, I do. You know, for me, I think, you know, I agree. I think there's so many things in place at a government level that it's just like, come on.
Yeah.
You know, if you want to smoke pot, smoke pot. You know, like whatever it may be, it's like, it just makes it harder for them to manage. You know, and control.
Yeah, exactly. It's just one big system of control. Do most people know that you don't live in the western suburbs? You open about that?
I don't know. I lived in Claremont for 10 years. When
you
I was
live
a
on
teenager.
acreage, right?
Yeah, so we live in Wellard.
Yeah.
So which is out in the sticks.
Yeah.
I think for me, it's like, when it comes to like my home life and everything like that, like I've always been, because I put so much of myself, for example, on Instagram, you're like a battery, as a person. It's just like you give out so much, and at some point you need to recharge. You need to recharge in order to be able to continue giving.
Yep.
And because, the people's husband, as we refer to him to, because the number one searched for thing on Google is Matthew Lander's husband. So people get...
Oh, when you type
Yes.
your name
So if you
into
type in
Google.
Matthew Landers into Google,
Okay.
it auto-fills
Wow.
with Matthew Landers' husband. So there's a lot of people obviously very curious about,
I've got here Matthew Landers flowers, Matthew Landers Vic Park, then Matthew Landers husband.
Yeah. So it's you've got all those, curious people,
Cool.
which is, cute and everything. But for me, having him and my home has always been very private, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So if I'm at home, I will very, very, very rarely, record in my house or show any sort of like long shots of me, my house, my husband, anything like that, because it's just like, no, that's the only place that I've got that's sacred.
Yeah.
There's nothing else left. I've given you everything else.
Yeah.
So
Give us more. We want to see it all.
that's and I get that a lot, and I totally get. But the thing is, it's like I look at how much of a circus the Kardashians are.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I'm not prepared to be that committed.
Yeah.
I just can't. I can't.
You
commit to
told
that
me that
level.
when you came back from Paris, you were acting like a Kardashian.
I thought I was a Kardashian, truly. Like, because I think I was in my head, I was young, like I was only 24 when I moved home. And I just feel like, I feel like when you're young, you live in a fantasy and then you become the fantasy, and I think I thought I was, like all my friends that I went to high school with, for instance, and it's like, oh, what are you doing? It's like, oh, I'm a fourth year apprentice. It's like, oh, babe, I live in Paris.
Yeah.
Third arrondissement. Where do you live? Like it was all that. So yeah, I think it's very easy to become arrogant in a way,
Yeah.
where it's just
Especially
like,
at 24 as a male too.
Totally.
It's that perfect age for it. Like I was exactly the same. 24 was when I was like a year and a half into, year and a half into my real estate career in Karratha. I'd just been awarded like Rising Star in Australia, the National Real Estate Awards. I was, bringing in like $1 million a year in commission. I was like, I'm fucking
Head gets
killing
big,
it.
untouchable. Yeah.
Blew it all.
Totally.
Blew all the money.
Yeah,
but,
same. Yeah.
Also another lesson and part of life. Like,
Oh, I look back to financial lessons when I was young, and I thought, God, if I'd made better choices back then, imagine how my life would be now.
Yeah.
But it could be dead tomorrow. I'm glad. I don't regret. I have no regrets at all.
There's something to be said for reaching that level of extreme, what most people would consider extreme financial success. Like for you and I, we consider that to be maybe like $100 million or something, like which I'll probably never get to.
Yeah.
Which is just crazy. But there's something to be said for reaching that point and having the experience and then going, oh fuck, that didn't change me as a person.
Yeah.
It just meant I had more money, and in that case, I actually wasted more of it. Now, I'm going to spend more of it wisely and invest it, but it doesn't change a thing. Like
Totally. And I think about this often, like I think, in my little black book of clients, in Perth, like I have in my client list the richest people in Perth, and some of which who are in Australia, and I think, those people that have extreme wealth, Clive Palmer excluded, it's like, they're just nice people. They're just normal people, and I think, I can't even tell you, like I went to this woman's house the other day in Peppy Grove who, probably in a $20 or $30 million house, and she's just barefoot, swanning around, there's Chanel bags strewn around like Woolies bags, and she's sitting down and she makes me a cup of coffee, and you know what I mean? We just sat down and chatted like normal people.
Did you have Nescafe? Or?
Yeah, it was like something out of like something that looked like an oven, but must have been a coffee machine or something like that.
Pretty fancy.
Much fancier than me.
Yeah.
And I just sat there and chatted with her, and I thought, God, if I was recording this on my phone right now without being able to see, the undisturbed view of the river, it could have just been me and a girlfriend in a cafe in Armidale. Do you know what I mean? Like, you'd never think that I'm sitting where I was. So I think that people that have actually worked hard for what you would call financial success, it's so different, rather than it's been handed to you as such. Yeah. Because I look at some of the brats that I deal with as well, where it's been handed to them.
Yeah, you know who you are if you're listening.
You know who you are. Gosh, torture me.
Start being a nicer person.
Yeah, they they know it's just it's an expectation because it's been something that they've been gifted.
Yeah. On that note, I do think because a lot of people follow you, and people create their own perception of your life, and obviously,
Totally.
I was thinking just yesterday, I'm like, fuck, people don't even see like 90% of my life. People don't even see the best moments in my life because I'm too busy. I'm too busy
enjoying it, living it. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, and I'm like, people must actually kind of think I'm a little bit more serious than I am because when I'm fucking really laughing, my phone's away.
Of
I'm
course.
having fun.
Same.
But I imagine people like Matthew Landers, amazing brand, really successful, down to earth guy. Like, you've got everything in your life. Like, people make those kinds of assumptions when you are doing good things in the world, that you've got everything together. What are some of the things in your life that you've had to deal with or overcome that was like real adversity to kind of get to this, I suppose get to where you are now, even though
I think some of the things that you don't see, and like people often say, they're like, "Oh, God, you must spend so much time on Instagram." I'm like, babe, if you're lucky, I will post 4, maybe 6 stories per day at 15 seconds each. It's a minute and a half.
True.
Take a seat. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's a minute and a half out of my day.
Yeah.
Even if I have to refilm something, it's 3 minutes of my day. Like, so really, if I'm working for 16 hours a day or something like that, 3 minutes is nothing. It is a tiny little snapshot. I often think about this, what you said, because I think that the true reason that I would become what the average person would call successful in business is because I have made cutting decisions that have affected people's livelihoods. Decisions that have benefited me in business and killed other businesses. Like, it's one of those things. It's like, I'm a business person, and I will open a store in anticipation that I am going to close the 3 florists around me down.
Wow.
Like, this is the reality.
Yeah.
And I think that it's like, if you don't have that mentality, you're not a business person, you're a hobbyist. And it's like, if you're going to be serious about business, it's like you are going to make choices that are going to impact other people.
Yes.
There's many things that you can do internally to, I guess, make yourself feel better about those choices that you've made. But at the end of the day, if a florist opened up across the road from me and they were willing to give me a run for my money, I would be so up for it. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not even about may the best person win. It's like, competition's healthy. It's really, really healthy. And I had someone really attack me about when I opened the store in Claremont, being like, oh, I wonder what such and such will say. Their store's only just down the road. And I thought, well, to be honest, I said, without sounding rude, I actually haven't even thought about what they would think, because I'm actually just doing my own thing.
Yeah.
And I would have thought that they also would just be doing their own thing and wouldn't at all feel threatened by the fact that another florist has opened up, because they've got their clients. They've got their, they've been in business a long time, those sorts of things. So it's just like, just focus on your own shit. But there has definitely been situations where, you are making decisions on people's behalf. Employees, whatever you may be doing, it's tough. It's tough, building a successful business, and you can't truly build something if you're not, 1, willing to work in it, and 2, make decisions, sometimes very spur of the moment, that can have an impact on other people. So I think that's that's been one of the hardest things for me to learn, is to be at peace with some of the decisions I've made and how it could impact other people. Yeah.
I think it's just, amazing to land on, like, run your own race and you're only competing against yourself. I heard this thing in, I don't know if you've read David Goggins' book. I spoke about this in yesterday's recording as well. So, David Goggins, like, former Navy SEAL, ran a marathon on broken legs. Like, the dude's a maniac, right? Like, what he's done with his body and pushed himself to the next level. And he said in every marathon or ultra marathon he does, the moment he starts thinking about his competitors, he starts running their race. Because he hasn't done their preparation. He hasn't done, he hasn't got their game plan in mind. So if he's thinking about them, he runs worse. But the moment he starts thinking about himself, his own pace, where he's at, he's in competition with himself and his best times. Well, he's just running his race according to his plan, and and I think it's just when people do that in business, it's a manifestation or an expansion of how they're actually living their life. Right? Totally. They're always focusing on other people. I find it kind of baffling that people spend a lot of their time interest in other people's lives.
Yeah. I
Including-
wish I had the time.
Including following you. And like, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
I obviously follow you
agree.
and like,
Yeah,
but
100% agree.
But I probably keep it small and like, you know, there's that's a part of life now, social media. But there are people who are like significantly and substantially invested in other people's lives.
Very much.
Without knowing them. And
those people that comment on every news post from Perth Now, you know, like things like that, those people, and it's just like, but the reality is it's like, I look at those people as such that, you know, like if I put up an Insta story, they're one of the first people to respond to it. And it's just like, they're ambassadors for me.
Yeah.
They're ambassadors for me because I've created a cult following.
Yeah.
And it means that those people, you know, if anyone within their network, family, friends, colleagues, whatever, said, I need to order flowers, there's no question about who they're going to refer.
Sure.
So for me, it's just like, I have so much respect for those people because I work for them. You know, like I'm working, I don't care or look at anyone else's business or, you know, whatever. I'm purely looking at what I'm doing and how that's going to benefit my clients.
Yeah.
Not just the business, because if I focus on how it's going to benefit the clients, I'm going to have a business.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So I'm always interested in the client experience and interested in the perspective in how I sell something to somebody, because that's often very different to how others do, in the sense that, like if you were selling a mattress, and let's just say we've got a mattress here on the floor, it's the world's best mattress, it's $50,000. You would never sell it as the world's best mattress. You would sell it as the best night's sleep you're ever going to have. So that's my approach on things. Because I'm dealing in a luxury market.
Sure.
You know, so I'm dealing in something that people don't need to survive.
So what are flowers for that? Are they, you know, it's not the world's best flowers or purchase flowers. What
it's
is
the
it?
emotional connection to it.
Yeah.
So
yes, we were talking about this.
Yeah, so Mother's Day, it was all about nostalgia. You know, take mum back to a happier time, a happier place. You know, take mum back. You know, that sort of thing.
You said something when we caught up for coffee, which was, you know, no one buys flowers without an emotional attachment or an emotional experience in mind.
1,000,000%.
You know, they go buy them for themselves, they go buy them for a friend. Or something.
It's emotional. Yeah. It's not a rational purchase. It's an emotional purchase. And it's like if someone's, you know, done something to their partner and they want to send flowers, a sorry or a makeup or whatever, it's like, it's emotional. And we also feel the responsibility that we're executing a job for somebody that's important to them. You know, those flowers might be to say sorry. It's just like we need to convey message.
Didn't you say once you fucked that up?
Yeah.
And accidentally put not sorry or something? Not exactly that.
But yeah, there's been a couple of fuck ups over the years. But you know, it's all about, you know, like anything in business, you know, if you fuck something up, just own up to it and just fix it.
Flowers wasn't going to save their relationship. Let's be honest with you. Know. So if that was the clincher, then, you know, you really actually did both of them
probably
a service.
Just did them a favor.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I should have invoiced for more.
Yeah. I just want to go back and clarify what I said before, because I didn't want it to sound too judgmental. It's like, it's totally okay for people to follow whoever they want and be interested and invested in people's lives. I think my point was that if you want to or aspire to something greater in your own life, the best way to do it in most cases is to focus on yourself.
Yeah, just apply it to your own life. Yeah.
And take bits and pieces maybe from other people, like read a couple of books here and there.
Sure, yeah.
But it's like, you know, everyone kind of has their own magic, and the more time you put into discovering and finding that, equals
100%. It's no different to, you know, it applies the same even just in my industry. You know, I'll see people that make almost like for like copies of something I've done. It's like, oh babe, just be inspired by what I've done and create your own magic. Don't just copy. And I think people do that in life. We're all guilty of it at some point. We've done something where we've just, you know, copycatted someone. We've gone, oh, well, it worked for them, I'll try it. And it doesn't work for you. And it's just like, well, yeah, just apply it to your own life in your own way, rather than just copying. And I think that social media can be quite guilty of that, because, you know, you're saying, like, I could be sitting here being like, oh, you need to try Alex's magic drink at $75 a cup. There would be silly fuckers on there that would just be like, how do I get it?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, So,
Let's do it. What are you doing the rest of the day? We can clear our schedules and sell some cacao.
but I get it though. I
Yeah.
get it because it's a trusted referral. I'm saying that something is good, so people are taking that and going, oh well, if he says it's good, that must be good.
Yeah.
And I get that, but you've got to realize that cacao is not for everyone.
Yeah.
So am I buying it just because he said it's good and I want to buy it so that I can drink it too? Or I actually don't even like cacao, so let's not buy it. Do you know what I mean? Like that sort of principle? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what is for everyone? Psilocybin mushrooms.
Yeah.
Everyone needs to have them.
I need to have them.
Yeah. Well, we should set it up. Conversation off podcast.
Off podcast.
Yeah. I mean, I'll have it on the podcast, but what do you think's the weirdest thing about you?
I hate balloons.
Oh, weird.
Yeah.
That is so weird.
I hate balloons.
That's so weird. Why?
I don't know. I think it was because when I grew up in my mum's florist shop when I was really little, it was in the early 90s, it was really big to have lots of balloons for everything.
Yeah.
And I think I've got like a PTSD surrounding like the sound of the balloons popping from the helium tank and also the sound of the helium entering the rubber. Just makes me like,
It's like a hissing sound, right?
It's horrible. And if I go into Spotlight, for instance, to get something, I have to wear earplugs or I have to have like earphones in with music blaring so that I can't hear the party shop blowing up balloons. Like I hate balloons. I don't know if that's weird, but yeah, I hate balloons.
It's pretty weird.
What else is weird?
I mean, weird doesn't mean bad.
No, I know.
It's interesting finding out these like different things about people. That's all.
I mean, we've obviously all got our quirks. I don't know if some of them are suitable for like the world to know. But yeah, I would say that balloons would probably be what most people would. I wouldn't even say it's a phobia. I just strongly dislike.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does it like make your teeth go weird and stuff like that?
It's not actually like, if you had a bunch of balloons sitting in the corner here today, I wouldn't be like some horror movie being like, they need to go. It's actually more the actual blowing up of the balloon, and the touch of them as well. It's like they can exist where I am, but I don't need to touch them.
Yeah.
And I don't need to hear it.
Yeah. Mine's styrofoam for that.
Styrofoam.
Can't deal. Like it gives me my teeth this weird feeling and the sound of it just
right. Ugh. Has it come from anywhere? Like, do you remember an occasion when...
I don't know. I just remember like feeling weird about it as a kid. Yeah.
I think my weirdest thing would be I'm very much a sniffer.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like everything... I don't know if you noticed, but when you first gave me this, I was like...
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I'm a real sniffer. And it's like, not in like a like the calls coming from inside the house kind of way, but just like like every single thing I eat. Like if I'm sitting at a restaurant, like I'll have to actually, like I'll cut something and I'll be like, and then eat it. Yeah, like I'm very sensory. Like everything's very touch, feel, smell for me. So yeah, I've definitely noticed with food, I'm very much a sniffer. And I don't know that I particularly notice too many other people doing it, so I'm very conscious of it.
Yeah. That's cool though. I think you're getting the full experience.
I have a very heightened sense of smell, so I and I always have. So I feel like I don't know, I always use that. Like I can smell things before other people can, if that makes sense. Like I'll be like, what is that smell? And then someone else, like a minute later, will be like, oh, I can smell it now. So yeah, I very much that. I think that's about as weird as it gets, really.
Yeah. As much as you
what
want
about
to
you?
share, anyway. Oh
the weirdest
shit!
thing?
I reckon I'm pretty weird.
Yeah, what would be standout weird that no one else would know?
Fuck. I reckon everyone probably knows it all by now. Maybe. Like there's some weird quirky stuff like the styrofoam.
I met this guy once actually, this booty call I used to have when I was really early 20s. And he used to shave his pubic hair and he kept it.
Oh, that's so weird.
He had this shoebox full of it.
No.
Yeah. That was, and it freaked me out. I was like, I can't ever see you again. Like it was just.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah, totally.
What was he going to do with it?
I have no idea. But it was just one of those things, you hear those weird things and it's like, what the fuck?
You're like serial.
At what point did you decide that was
killer.
cute? Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
who does this?
You're like, have you been saving my pubic hair?
Yeah. But yeah, just, you hear those things every now and then and it's like, okay.
Yeah, what?
You do you.
Like, yeah. Exactly. Fuck. No, definitely. I don't have a box of pubic hair anywhere in this house.
Good to know. Yeah, good to know.
So,
but you've got a box of cacao. That's all that matters.
Got a box of cacao, some Palo Santo, and some plants and stuff. Yeah. I play a few musical instruments.
I was just going to say, we've got a trumpet here.
Yeah, I play trumpet, trombone. It's in the corner, in the case.
Didgeridoo.
Yeah, didgeridoo, a few different instruments. Yeah, I don't know. I've done some pretty weird stuff in my time. Yeah, I have to think about that and share it soon. Like, what's the weirdest thing? Yeah. There we go. What do you think you would do if today was your last day alive? How would you be spending it?
I think just like any other day, to be honest. Like,
Yeah.
My husband and I have been together for 10 years. We tell each other we love each other every day, every morning. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's never a night that we don't speak to each other. You know, we've never been to bed angry, anything like that. So I feel like, because I'm so aware of things like that, you know, like I would never want to, you know, die suddenly and him be like, oh, I didn't get to say, or I didn't get to say, or whatever.
Yeah.
So I've very much lived that life already, my whole adult life.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
So I really do feel like, you know, if today was my last day on earth, like I'm already living my authentic life, you know, and everyone who I do love would know,
Yeah.
you know, like that's the case. And I don't ever feel like I would, you know, leave this earth without saying something. You know, it's like, if I'm feeling it, I'll say it. If I've got a question about something, I'll ask it. You know, it's like, yeah, every single day it's kind of just carry on. And I try to just be like, okay, and I really actually do. I have this written on my desk as well. Like, I only think about today. Like, if I've got appointments for tomorrow, I actually wouldn't even know until tomorrow. You know, like I don't even look at tomorrow until then.
Yeah.
Today, I'm only focused on today. Like, we're working on today and that's it. Tomorrow, I'll work on tomorrow. That's kind of how I've
living in the moment.
Myself. Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been a really great conversation.
Thanks for sharing your birthday candle and your cacao with me.
Anytime.
We're off to play the didgeridoo now.
Yeah, we're gonna have some didgeridoo lessons, and one of us will play the trumpet.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Thanks, Alex.
Thanks, Matthew. That's all for this week's episode. If you want to check out Matthew, please look at the links in the description of the podcast episode. You can also find me on Instagram, as always. And I did mention cacao, ceremonial cacao, throughout the podcast. That's from my really good friends, Mitch and Yaz at the Cacao Collective. Their details are below in the podcast as well. Look forward to catching you on next week's show. I'll see you then.